Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another Kano Tryharding Modern. Today we will be playing the Modern Challenge with Green Tron, just to see how well we can do. I would show Decklist here, but it appears to not be working. You'll probably have to screenshot, because I'm going to have to start playing pretty much right away. I just happened to see that it was up as soon as I logged on. This is the list that I am playing. I don't know, I just felt like this list might have the best chance. It's one of the ones I'm more familiar with, and we're going to see how we do. So, hopefully it's good. Hopefully everything goes well. Alright. Would like to play first. This hand is not a good hand. We're going to mulligan, especially against a blind opponent. I would like something a little bit better. I am going to 5. That's not how I wanted to start this event. But, you know, you can't always have everything, or even in some cases, some things, so. Alright, we're going to 5. At least my opponent mulliganed to 6. Whatever they're playing. They kept 6. I'm going to 4. Frankly, I don't want to keep a one-lander. Right. So, Worm Coil, Sphere, back. Let's go. Tron God, smileth upon me, please, for I have begun my penance with a sacrifice of 3 mulligans. I mean, like, if we just, like, top deck non-stop, which Tron is capable of doing, there is a decent chance we could get somewhere. So, we're going to play Ancient Stirrings, try and hit a land this turn. We do get a tower, which is a good hit. Play tower, play star. If I have to leave a sphere or a star on board, I prefer to leave a star, because star's draw card ability is independent of its mana ability activation, meaning that if star gets destroyed, you draw a card. If sphere gets destroyed, you don't. So, okay, opponent plays an Urborg, an Unmarked Grave, so this appears to be Reanimator. This is really not good when you mulligan solo. Okay, Sylvan Scrying is a good draw. Let's see if we can't draw another land. Well, that's not what I meant, but I am going to risk another draw here, because if we do draw a mine or a power plant, it's a huge, enormous payoff. We did not. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with the tower into Sylvan Scrying for a Tron land. I'm going to take a mine here. I have Ancient Stirrings to discard to a Reanimated Archon if my opponent is able to go for the 2-mana Reanimate here. And they are. Reanimator is a pretty consistent deck, so we're going to ditch Ancient Stirrings. Basically, our hope right now is we can top deck a power plant and then top deck a threat. Okay, opponent has a Bajuka Bog, exiling our grave. That's fine, doesn't really do anything. We untap. We draw a mine. Alright, well, play a mine. If I play out Karn, I lose Karn. But I could potentially get Ensnaring Bridge, which, as long as my opponent doesn't have Prismatic Ending or March, it's probably worth it. The problem is I'm giving up 2 cards here to be able to do this. So we are going to go with the Ensnaring Bridge. Pass the turn. And I mean, like, if opponent just has Thoughtseize, then we're toast. Okay. We lose Karn, we lose the mine. This game is not hopeless, but it is looking kind of bleak right now. If our opponent has any other way to force us to discard, we're in trouble. Yep. That's what we were hoping to avoid. Alright, we untap. We draw an Oblivion Stone. We can't use it. Moving on to game 2. Versus Reanimator, we are going to bring in the relics. I'm going to leave Grafdigger's Cage on the sideboard. Let's see. Worm Coil is pretty bad against them. Like, it's not awful, because it gives us creatures to sack, but it's not great. And we're going to run it like this, I think. I don't know that I need Force of Vigor, but I mean, my opponent could be playing Damping Sphere. Okay, I would like to play first. We have 2/3 of Tron and a Relic, along with a 4-mana threat, so I am going to keep this hand. We do have a green source as well. This is not a very good turn 3 Tron hand, but it is an interactive hand for Reanimator. Okay. Opponent mulligan to 6. We're going to start Mine into Relic. Pass the turn. I should not F6. Okay, opponent starts Swamp into Expedition Map. That's kind of interesting. We untap and draw Ugin the Ineffable. Play Tower, pass the turn. I could crack Relic here. That wouldn't be totally unreasonable. Okay, opponent Thought Seizes us, that's fine. We have redundant threats, so they can take whatever they want. I mean, they could be playing Coffers, I suppose. It could be something other than straight Reanimator. Because Coffers is the only black deck I know that plays Expedition Map. If they're playing Coffers, I want to draw a card. Okay, another Urza's Tower. So, play a Forest, Ancient Stirrings. That would also explain the Urborg. Let's take Karn, because Karn we can play next turn, and that's going to put pressure on their decision-making. Like, if they're trying to tutor up Coffers here, having access to Karn next turn makes a big difference. Yeah, the more I look at this, because the Reanimator deck tends to be Esper, the more I look at this deck, the more it seems like they're playing Coffers with a Reanimator, like, sub-package. Yeah, they got Urborg. Okay. We untap, we draw Chromatic Star. So we'll play Tower. Play Karn. And we're gonna go get Coding. The most powerful thing we can do against our opponent is destroy lands. By far. Coffers is a deck that cannot survive mana destruction. Having played a lot of Coffers, I feel qualified to say that. Okay, opponent plays a Swamp. Okay, they have a kicked Blood Chief's Thirst, that's fine. Okay, we draw a Sphere. So play Sphere. Cycle Sphere for green. We get a Sanctum. Play Star. Cycle Star for green. We get a Map. So we can play a Map, play Sanctum, and Map for Power Plant. Okay, pass the turn. It also feels kind of nice to have, like, shuffled our... so they're going to take Ugin here, 100%. Yeah. It feels nice to have shuffled our Sundering Titan that's main deck back into the deck somewhere. And the good news is, if we just have natural Tron into Karn, we're going to, like, obliterate our Coffer's opponent. The problem that they're going to... Like, the thing we have to overcome, potentially, is them having a... Necromentia, naming a Tron land before we assemble Tron. Okay, so we are going to play Power Plant, play Worm Coil, play Oblivion Stone, and play Coding. Pass the turn. So Worm Coil should be a threat that's difficult for them to answer. Not impossible, though. But, I mean, if we just draw Big Eldrazi, if we draw Ancient Stirrings into a big threat, if we draw a Karn, either one, yeah, okay. I completely misidentified this because of the Godless Shrine. But if they're playing the Reanimator package with Unmarked Grave, that makes perfect sense because Unmarked Grave can go get an Unburial Rites. They probably also have Godless Shrine for like Path of Peril, or like a Vindicate splash, although that's less likely. Okay, they Blood Chief's Thirst to kill a Worm Coil. We make some tokens. This is Damnation. Oh, Takanuma. Okay. What did they pick up? They return no cards to their hand with Takanuma's ability. Alright, we untap. We draw Expedition map. So, play map. Activate map. We're going to get Besiegu, who endures. Go to combat. Attack them for 6. Take them to 10. Play a tower. And I think we have to hit Coffers just because of the number of swamps they already have. If I hit Urborg, Coffers is still mana positive. And they do play some number of instants, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this now. I don't think they play any, like, big draw spell instants, but they could stay alive if they have, like, a March. You know, that's potentially... Or March of Wretched Sorrow, because they could gain, like, 1 billion life, and then until we draw a mana disruptive threat, they'll be in trouble. The other thing with, like, leaving Urborg alive is if they do play another Coffers and we draw Sundering Titan, we can Sundering Titan to take out the Coffers and... like, because that's going to be a more vital threat. Okay, so if my opponent is playing Coffers, I'm going to bring Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, in. And I wish I had Veil of Summer, because Veil of Summer would really be how we beat Necromentia. I'm going to put an Oblivion Stone in the side, in the Wishboard, effectively. I think the relics are still more important than the Worm Coils that I took out. Because Worm Coil is a creature, and primarily their deck is good at answering creatures. We are on the draw, which is a significant disadvantage, because Necromentia is a card that exists. I really can't complain about Natural Tron, so I'm going to keep Natural Tron. Thoughtseize is a little bit disruptive here. But, I mean, if we can survive getting Necromentia, then, you know, we're going to win. They could also have Break the Ice or Lithoform Blight. Okay, Profane Tutor. So whatever they don't have, they're going to go get. Let's play Power Plant. I should have actually cracked Star first, but... Ancient Stirrings. Let's get a Karn Liberated. It's a pretty big deal. Play Relic. Pass the turn. Okay. Profane Tutor ticking down. They cling Ancient Stirrings to draw a card. If they miss a land drop, it's game over. Okay, they play Urborg. So we untap, we draw a Worm Coil, play a tower, play Karn Liberated, kill Urborg. And the game is over. Alright. Yeah, I don't think Coffers is quite good enough yet. I played a whole bunch of it. I played a bunch of different varieties of it. And I have to say that while the deck is powerful, it is less powerful now because it is known. When I first started playing the deck, basically nobody played it. I've been playing it basically since Modern Horizons 2 released. I think I had some of the earliest content on it, if not the earliest. And, of course, I played a lot of jank and purposefully didn't optimize the deck because it was fun to play, but as soon as a bunch of other people started playing it and people knew what to expect, it kind of became this easier to disrupt deck. And it's missing like one good card to be a really, really good modern deck. I'm not saying it can't be played, and Tron is a bad matchup for it, but green Tron specifically. But I think Coffers as an archetype is missing one good card, really. So I will see you guys in round 2. Alrighty, welcome back to round 2. We would like to play first. This hand is awful. This is a bit better. I am going to 5 though. I think being on the play versus a blind opponent, I can afford to do this. Alright, I'm going to keep this. This is not that great, but I don't really want to go to 4. I'll be putting back, I think, both Karns here. I mean, like, there's always the chance you mull to 4 and you just have natural Tron threat, but it's so low. So, we're going to start Power Plant into Sphere. Pass the turn. Opponent also mulliganed to 5. We untap. We draw an Expedition map. So, cycle for green. Ancient Stirrings. That is disappointing. So let's take an Expedition map. Rest of the bottom any order. Play a Power Plant. Play map. Pass the turn. So I'm thinking we're probably against Murktide. This could be Cascade. This could be Living End. Ketria Triome. This could be Money Pile, but it's not Yorian Money Pile if it's Money Pile. Wrenn and 6. This could just be like Scape Shift, too. Opponent picks up their fetch land. We untap. We draw a Wormcoil Engine. So let's go get Urza's Mine. Play Urza's Mine. Play Expedition Map. Pass the turn. The problem is if they have Besiege You. Okay, this is looking more and more like it's a polymorph list because every land is a mountain. Okay, they have Teferi. We draw another Urza's Mine, so play map. Crack map. Let's get tower. Play tower. Play sphere. Sack sphere for green. Play sphere. Sack sphere for green. Play map. Pass the turn. I mean, we could definitely be in a worse place. Opponent plays a Scalding Tarn. So I'm kind of expecting Fetch Dwarven Mine, Indomitable Creativity. Alright, that's not what happened. We draw Wormcoil Engine. Play Wormcoil Engine. Okay. Play an Urza's Mine. Pass the turn. Opponent Expressive Iteration and Instant Speed. They exile Teferi Time Raveler, so they put something else into their hand. It is a Dwarven Mine, so this is a polymorph deck of some kind. And second Expressive Iteration. Exiling a Wrenn and 6. Okay. They untap. They uptick Teferi. They uptick Wrenn and 6, picking up Scalding Tarn. So they can go for an instant speed creativity on 2, which is probably going to be pretty devastating. This list I don't think is playing Warping Whale. So crack map. Just thin our deck a little bit. I think I'm going to get Sanctum because I have an overabundance of mana at this point. Okay, we draw Chromatic Sphere. Alright, let's attack first. I guess we'll attack Wrenn and 6. No, let's attack our opponent. Okay, opponent blocks. Interesting. Okay. They did not go for the polymorph. It's Chromatic Sphere, crack it for green. Ancient Stirrings. Yeah, I'll take a Sundering Titan. Now, this probably isn't going to work, but it's worth a shot. Sack Sanctum. We're going to go get Ulamog. They have to have a counterspell. There's just no way they don't. And if they don't have a counterspell, they're basically getting Armageddoned, which makes Ren and 6 alt not very good. Wow. Wow, we got him. That's impressive, considering how deep they dug. Okay, I'm gonna have to actually look up a deck list for this. I've not seen this deck from our opponent in a very long time. Let's see. Modern Indomitable creates. They play Force of Vigor, Dress Down, Dovin's Veto, Aether Gust out of the side. Just checking to make sure that there's nothing else that I need to like really play around. They could technically play like Blood Moon. They wouldn't play Magus of the Moon, and they wouldn't play Damping Sphere. It's looking like it's basically Besiege You and Dovin's Veto, depending on the list. Which means I don't really have a sideboard for this. Oh, does Indomitable Creativity exile? That's a question. Let's see. Indomitable Creativity. Destroy X target permanent. Reveals cards from top of their library. Okay, so Grafdigger's Cage actually matters here. And then I don't know that they play Transmogrify, but I can double check Transmogrify. Same wording. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have a sideboard, so I'm not going to swap anything around yet. If we get got by something, then I guess we'll know to play around it. But we also had a very, very slow Tron start. And I feel like a fast Tron start with no disruption by the opponent would be ideal. I mean, okay, we got 2/3 of Tron. We have a Sanctum, we have a Scrying. If we draw a Sphere, Star, or Map on our first draw, this hand is really good. If we draw a Sphere, Star, Map, or Tower is an excellent first draw. So that's 16 cards out of 53 that are really good. If we draw a Threat, that's also decent, because that gives us another redraw potentially at Tower. Opponent also mulligan to 5 on the play, which is a really good sign for us. We have Power Plant Tron, so we're going to lead on mine, pass the turn. That may give me the option to go for the turn 4 Tron, if my opponent's not playing a particularly fast game. Opponent plays an island. We untap and we draw Sphere. Okay, so play Power Plant, play Sphere, pass the turn. So we will be assembling Tron next turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Scalding Tarn. They crack Arid Mesa. They get a Sacred Foundry untapped. They crack Scalding Tarn. They get a Stomping Ground untapped. Them playing this basic island is interesting because it means they do not have like a fast Dwarven Mine. I mean, it probably also means that they have Blood Moon in the deck. So this could be a Teferi. Alright, Prismatic Ending. That's fine. We can just draw. Okay. Well, if we top deck Tower, we can play some stuff. Okay, we did not top deck Tower. So we are going to fix our opponent's mana a little bit and go for the Scrying to try and get Tower here. Okay. Tron Assemble in hand. And if opponent doesn't have a counterspell and we resolve Karn and just start taking lands from them, I don't think they can win. Okay, opponent Expressive Iteration. They exile a Dwarven Mine. They play Dwarven Mine. Who be texting? Alright, we untap. We draw an Ugin. Alright, well, play Tower. Play Karn. And we're going to take out Sacred Foundry. We can't take them off green, which I think is slightly more important because we have Yavimaya out on the field. So, otherwise I think I would have taken out the green source first. If they miss a land drop this turn, I 100% am going to take their island from them. Because then I can just resolve like the rest of my threats in hand. Okay, they shock a Steam Vents. Looking like a Ren at 6. Siege you on my Power Plant. Unfortunately, opponent, that is the incorrect choice. That is the one I was naturally holding duplicates of. Okay, so opponent upticks, picking up Besiege You. We untap. We draw Oblivion Stone. So in this case, we are going to replay Power Plant. We're going to play our really expensive Planeswalker. We're going to -2 to just guarantee Red and 6 dies. And And then we are going to actually plus on their hand. So now if they reanimate into, or if they Indomitable Creativity into Archon, okay, we just got rid of Archon, but then we would have the option of sacking a particular Planeswalker, which in this case would probably be in the Spirit Dragon. If they Indomitable Creativity into Emrakul, because some of the lists had Emrakul the Aeon's Torn in the sideboard, we can actually deal with Emrakul. Okay, opponent's going to Besiege my power plant. Wrong choice again, because I'm holding yet another power plant. Because the Tron gods do indeed favor me upon this day. And we are 2-0 in this modern challenge. So thank you, Tron gods, and thank you, viewers, for watching. I will see you guys in round 3 when it happens. Alrighty, welcome back to round 3. Definitely a mulligan, I think. Oh, this is so close. Yeah, we're gonna try it. I'm not thrilled about this. Having 2 of the same Tron land, I don't like. This was like mine tower or power plant mine. Like, you know, if it was 2 different Tron pieces, this hand would be ideal. Unfortunately, it is not. We are against an opponent that is bobbling themselves. This is probably Murktide of some variety. Opponent fetches up a Steam Vents and plays Ragavan. It is, in fact, Murktide. So they draw a card. We draw mine. Alright, the Tron gods begin to smileth upon me today. Okay, so opponent attacks us for 2. They're going to see what they exile. They exile Besiju, who endures. And what else? What else are they? Okay, they got a Steam Vents. And they Archmage's Charm to take my Chromatic Star. How rude. We draw another power plant. So, play Star. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They go to combat. They hit us for 2. They exile an Urza's Mine. They filter for blue and draw a card. Then they cast Expressive Iteration. Looks like they're trying to hit their land drops here. So, I mean, ideally, we just top deck a tower in our next 2 draws. They exile a Lightning Bolt. And they do just bolt us to be aggressive. Okay. Well, we untap. We draw another Urza's Mine. So, filter for green. We draw an Oblivion Stone. Sylvan Scrying. Let's get a tower. Play the tower. Play Oblivion Stone. Pass the turn. Tron assembled. Opponent goes to combat, smacks us down to 11. They exile a Karn, Great Creator. It'll be really irritating if they can actually cast that, because shutting off our artifacts makes our Karn Great Creator quite awful. If we can resolve our Karn, though, it's a pretty big deal. Opponent casts another Expressive Iteration, so they're digging hard to try and find a land. They do find a Spire Bluff Canal. Spire Bluff Canal puts on the battlefield. We untap. We draw Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Okay, so if my opponent has Spell Pierce, it's better to play Karn Great Creator. If my opponent has any other counterspell, I think it's actually better to play Ugin. I'm going to play another power plant. And I'm actually going to go with Karn Great Creator here, because I can activate Oblivion Stone next turn. Okay, they do have a counterspell, that's fine. They untap. I don't care too much if they attack me with Ragavan now. I will take the hit. I would rather destroy the treasure and Ragavan, leaving up the ability to blow up the world, basically. The opponent gets an Expedition map. Because this, like, forces them to stay off of playing a Murktide for a turn, effectively. Okay, opponent cracks a treasure for blue. Then they play Scalding Tarn. They crack Scalding Tarn, get an island. Then they Serum Visions to shuffle away whatever was on top of their deck. So they draw a card. They get to scry. They put one card on the bottom and one card on the top. They play Expedition Map. And they're now passing. Let's go ahead and blow up the world. Kind of hoping they just crack map, but they didn't. So they probably have a counterspell here. We draw another tower. Play the tower, play Ugin. Has to be a hard counterspell. Spell Pierce won't do it. Okay. Alright, well, we've just got a top deck one of our big Tron threats. Hopefully our opponent runs out of disruption. I could have tried to get greedy with that Oblivion Stone, but I think I activated it at the right time. Because if they needed the land off of map for whatever reason, they would have activated it in response, and then that would have cleared the way for Ugin. But, okay. But it makes an 8/8 Murktide Regent. We untap. We draw Karn. Well, play a Mine. Play a Karn. Karn resolves. Take out Murktide. Okay, we live another turn. Opponent casts an Unholy Heat to take out Karn, and sacks Fiery Islet to draw a card. So we have a number of great top decks here. We could top deck Ulamog, we could top deck Ugin, we could top deck Karn, we could top deck other Karn, we could top deck Sundering Titan. Even Little Ugin would be okay here. Opponent exiles Ulamog off the top of our deck, which is kind of disappointing that we didn't draw that. They play another Murktide Regent. Yeah, it's really unfortunate we didn't draw this. And then they play a Dragon's Rage Channeler, picking up Ragavan. We untap. We draw an Ugin. Unfortunately, Ugin has to downtick all the way to keep us alive. Our opponent has an active Ragavan. So we really need to top deck something, and they need to not have an answer for it, whatever it is. This opponent re-enables Delirium with an Expressive Integration. Okay, they exile a Dragon's Rage Channeler. And dash Ragavan again. Okay, Ragavan takes us to 5. Exiles an Ancient Stirrings, which is actually good, because that would have been a terrible top deck for us. Okay, opponent plays Dragon's Rage Channeler, and picks up Ragavan. We untap. We draw an Expedition Map, so we can play map, activate map, get Blast Zone, play Blast Zone, pass the turn. So we can at least fog attacks for a turn here. Okay, opponent starts by casting a Serum Visions. We have to use this during combat because even if they're gaining value off of these Surveils, we want to stop Ragavan from attacking us this turn and putting us directly into bolt range. Okay. Opponent goes to combat, attacks us for 3. Blow up all 1-drops. And they just hardcast Ragavan. We untap and draw Wormcoil Engine. Well, we basically have to hope they don't have the third counterspell. They've drawn a million cards, though, so it's pretty likely. Okay. There's a possibility we make it to next turn if they don't have another Lightning Bolt. They tend to favor running Unholy Heat to Lightning Bolt in either a 3-1 or a 3-2 split, or a 4-1 or a 4-2 split. They just hit our other Wormcoil, so if they have an untapped land, they can play a Wormcoil. And they had the Lightning Bolt. Alright. Fair enough. So versus our opponent, I definitely want the Forces in. I would like a Chalice of the Void in. And I don't think this is a Kozilek matchup. Worm Coil's pretty good. I'm going to put a Worm Coil and an Oblivion Stone into the Wish board. I like having Ugin because Ugin can answer a bunch of stuff that they would play for cheaper than, you know, Karn and Ugin. And by that I mean Ugin the Ineffable versus Ugin the Spirit Dragon. I think I'm going to drop a second Oblivion Stone, even though it's good against the, like, Blood Moon I'm kind of sensing out of my opponent. And I think I'm going to drop a second Worm Coil for the same reason, even though it's good against them. I could bring in the Relics, and it's not wrong to do so, but I find that, like, trying to keep them off of Delirium is just not a game-winning strategy, and it's kind of antithetical to assembling what we want to assemble. So, this hand is fine, but I'm going to try and do a little bit better because we are on the play. I mean, if we draw Tower or Spear or Star, this is a really good hand. I don't think we're likely to, though, and we don't have a Karn or something to play immediately off of Tron. I'm going to go to 5. Alright, Natural Tron, sure. We're going to put back Oblivion Stone and Force of Vigor. And we're going to lead on Mine into Star. So basically, what we're hoping our opponent does not do is turn 1 Ragavan, turn 2 Blood Moon. That's what we're hoping to dodge. Opponent starts Spire Bluff Canal into Ragavan because they never not have it. We untap, we draw Power Plant. Sack Star for green. We get Karn, Grey Creator. Play Power Plant, pass the turn. With us not casting anything off of a star like that, they may not feel pressured into casting a Blood Moon. They might do something else instead. They may also not have a second land and only be a 2-mana this turn. They exile Karn Liberated off the top, which would have been an excellent top deck for us, actually. They play Dragon's Rage Channeler into an island. Okay. We untap. We draw Expedition Map. So play a tower. Play Karn. Okay, opponent does have a counter spell. So we are going to Expedition Map. And we are going to go get Blast Zone. We could have gotten a tower if we wanted to play around Spell Pierce, casting an Ugin. I haven't seen Spell Pierce out of them yet, and I don't know if they would play that as a sideboard only card or not. Okay, Ragavan hits us again, exiling another Karn Liberated. They play another Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay. We draw Tower. I mean, I feel like we're going to be dead very fast if we don't answer the 1-drops on board. I'm going to choose to play around the Spell Pierce here. Tapping like this. I have a suspicion that they do have an Archmage's Charm, but if I just play Blast Zone and then sack it, they're going to follow up with like a Murktide, which Ugin's not going to answer. Okay, they did have the Archmage's Charm, which is really unfortunate. And they might still play a Murktide this next turn. I was really hoping they didn't have the counterspell, but between the 2 lines I had access to this turn, this line is better. I think we're probably losing this game either way, but having gone this route, if they didn't have the Archmage's Charm, we actually had a chance of. If we just played Blast Zone and then passed, it doesn't do anything. Whereas at least we'd have an Ugin on board in the face of a Murktide, the way that I went. Alright. Ragavan says, exile target Karn Liberated from your opponent's deck. It was, 3 in a row. Okay. We untap. We draw an Ancient Stirrings, which we can't do anything with, so we're going to play Blast Zone and pass the turn. This also gave us like the ability to top deck an Ulamog and cast it. When it goes to combat, they swing and blow up all 1-drops. We take 1, go to 10. Okay, they play a Steam Vents tapped. We untap. We draw another tower. Play a Power Plant. Pass the turn. I guess maybe I should have played the other tower there, because in the off chance my opponent has like a Pillage or something like that, there was a chance that they try to go for the Power Plant. We could just reassemble Tron. I don't think that's likely, but it's a super edge case scenario that like could exist. Okay. Play another tower. Play a Sundering Titan. This might get us back in the game. Maybe. So we limit our opponent's mana, and we have a big threat. Opponent is not just like immediately double spelling every turn, so they are running out of action, I think. And if we can answer this Ledger Shredder with anything, we're probably okay. They attack us for 1. We take 1 and go to 8. We draw a Chromatic Sphere. So if we Sphere into Stirrings, there's a little bit of inherent risk because it will grow the Ledger Shredder and give them another opportunity to draw a Counterspell. So we hit them for 7, take them to 12. Play Sphere. Sack it for green. Okay. That makes me feel safe. So we take out the Ledger Shredder and Spire Bluff Canal. And even if they have a counterspell for Ulamog, we still have a 7/10 on board. So opponent gets to Connive. They ditch the Spell Pierce. I knew they had a Spell Pierce in their deck. I just knew it. So I'm glad I played around that at an earlier stage, even if they didn't have it. Okay. We resolve an Ulamog, but that's probably game. Yeah, I think that's game. Sick. All right, moving on to game 3. I think I want to leave everything that's in the Wishboard in the Wishboard. I'm going to feel really silly with this Force of Vigor when my opponent ends up playing a Magus of the Moon and not a Blood Moon, but I'm not going to make any adjustments. We're just going to run it back. Okay, this is a mulligan. This is super high risk. I'm definitely going to 5. Yeah, we're going to 5. Did I say 5? I meant 4. Okay, I can work with this. It's not great, but we're putting back a Tower, a Karn, and a Man. So Chalice on 1 should actually do quite a bit to disrupt them, because they have so many 1-mana interactive spells. Okay, they cast Serum Visions. So that's actually good for us, because that means them not leading on a 1-mana threat means that Chalice might actually stop them from playing 1-mana threats. If, of course, Chalice were to resolve. We draw Yavimaya, so we have our green source, and we have our double green source in the event that we draw Force of Vigor and need it. Okay, opponent plays a Ragavan, plays a Misty, gets an island, and casts Serum Visions. Okay. Well, that is unfortunate, but we're still going to be playing Chalice on 1. It does mean that they're pretty close to just casting Murktide, which is going to be real bad for us because we are nowhere near assembling Tron and getting a Tron threat to deal with it. Okay, we untap. We draw a Mine. Okay. Well, play a Mine. Play Chalice on 1. Next turn we can map for the last Tron land. Opponent hits us with Ragavan. We exile a Chromatic Star and get a treasure. But this means no Spell Pierce, no more cantrips, no Lightning Bolts, no Dragon's Rage Channelers, no Unholy Heats. Okay, they do have a Blood Moon. That's pretty bad. We can at least map for a basic. We draw Chromatic Star. That doesn't do anything, because I put Chalice on 1. Let's go ahead and map for a forest. Play the forest. And I am going to cast this Chromatic Star into this Chalice because if I top deck enough lands, or the sequences go just right, I might need to get an Ensnaring Bridge off of Karn Great Creator, and I need to have as few cards in my hand as possible for that to work. Okay, opponent exiles and Urza's Tower off the top of our deck. Problem is right now, though, they're gaining a bunch of advantage off this Ragavan. Okay, opponent plays an island. This is probably a Murktide. Okay, that's really bad for my health. We untap, they draw a card, we draw another Sphere. So play Blast Zone, play Sphere, pass the turn. And I think at this point we're probably dead. If we get Ugin 6, that might be enough for us to survive, or a Worm Coil maybe, but we have to be able to cast them, and we're going to be dead in a hurry. Opponent exiles an Ancient Stirrings off the top of our deck. We untap. Okay, Oblivion Stone is a thing. Play Oblivion Stone. Okay, opponent has a counterspell. Maya, we are now Hellbent, and I don't know what card is 5 mana that can get us out of this. Because even if I had like Thragtusk in my deck, that wouldn't be enough. Alright, we're dead. I think I got a little bit greedy with the mulligans, but I don't know. Alright, I will see you guys in round 4. Alrighty, welcome back to round 4. I've had something come up today, and I might actually have to cut this video short, depending, well, I was going to say regardless of how this actually turns out, which would be very unfortunate if I won, because my intent was to try and do well today, but this is kind of a, it's going to hinge on whether or not I'm actually going to have furniture in this house anytime soon. So, we'll see. I got a couple of phone calls I have to make after I finish this game, and this might be the last match I get to play today, so we'll see. So let's sack star for green, strip card, play star, play tower, sack star for green, and Ancient Stirrings. Okay, we get another tower, star, map, forest, or worm coil. I think I'm going to take map here. It means any land off the top will be the last Tron land. There's always the chance that we just top deck power plant too, that'd be great. Okay. Since we haven't drawn a land yet, we're going to play Chromatic Sphere. Cycle it for green, then play map. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent fetches up a Stomping Ground. This is looking like another Indomitable Creativity deck, considering they fetched all mountains. Okay. Never mind, it's just Money Pile. Or Elementals. Okay. They hit a Cavern of Souls off of Risen Reef. We untap, we draw a Chromatic Sphere. So hit Power Plant. Play Power Plant. Play Chromatic Sphere. And pass the turn. We could draw immediately, but I mean, there's some chance we need green mana at the start of our next turn, so we'll see. Okay, opponent plays an Omnath, gets a Risen Reef trigger, they draw a card, they draw another card, and they play a Colony Garden. This could actually be the Glimpse of Tomorrow combo deck as well. Okay, we draw Yavimaya. So let's cycle for green, see what we draw. Okay, we did not draw Ugin. Let's play a Mine, play, or tap Tower, play an Oblivion Stone, and activate Oblivion Stone. I'm going this route because I currently have 9 mana, and if I top deck another tower, I can play Karn, get Sundering Titan, and win the game. Opponent evokes Wave Sifter. Yeah, this definitely seems like it's the Glimpse of Tomorrow Elementals there.
that wins by like infinitely looping glips, getting 3 landfall triggers and an Omnath, and then pinging you to death that way. So maybe I was gonna say maybe I should have just Karn wished for Chalice, put Chalice on 0, but we'll see. Okay, we draw Ancient Stirrings. So Ancient Stirrings. We could also hit Sundering Titan off this. We did not. Take Karn Liberated. Rest of the bottom. Play Karn. Nuke Omnath. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent casts Endurance, put stuff back in their deck. Okay, here it comes. Alright. Tons and tons and tons of triggers. So Karn's going to die to Omnath triggers. They get a bunch of mana. We untap, we draw Ancient Stirrings. So let's go ahead and Ancient Stirrings. Yeah, Ugin the Spirit Dragon is pretty good here. So take Ugin, rest of the bottom. Play Ugin, and we will -5 Ugin. Exile the whole board. Pass the turn. I mean, we had Oblivion Stone too if that didn't work out, but this is better because it prevents them from putting those cards back into their graveyard, shuffling them back in, and continuing. I don't think they play Blood Moon, because that seems kind of antithetical to what they should be doing. They play Subtlety, Foundation Breaker, Force of Vigor, and Mystical Dispute out of the side. So I'm going to bring the Chalice, one of the Chalices in, and I'm going to put an Oblivion Stone into the sideboard, and we're going to try it like this. Alright, that's not a keepable hand, so we're going to mulligan. This is. We will definitely be keeping this. We'll be putting back one of our Ulamogs. Opponent leads on Colony Garden. We untap. We draw a Chromatic Sphere. Play Power Plant. Play Map. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Scalding Tarn and passes. We untap. We draw a Sundering Titan. Sundering Titan's pretty good against our opponent's deck, so we play Tower, pass the turn. And I think next turn we're going to go for Karn, Great Creator, into Trinisphere. Trinisphere just ensures they use all of their mana if they have to, like, Foundation Breaker, or if they have to try and Force a Vigor. Okay, they play a Risen Reef. And they do hit a land. I'll double check what I can wish for before I absolutely just go for it. Let's go get Urza's Mine. Untap, we draw a Chromatic Star. Chromatic Star, oh my gosh, I cannot speak. Play Karn, Great Creator. Yeah, let's get Trinisphere. Trinisphere means they have to basically either hard cast Force or hard cast Foundation Breaker. So it's going to waste their next turn anyway. And if we top deck a land of any sort, we can just Sundering Titan and basically take them out of the game. Because they're probably gonna crack Wooded Foothills here for something. And if we top deck a tower, we can cast Ulamog. There's always something to be said about that, huh? Okay. Opponent plays a second Risen Reef, then attacks Karn for 1. We untap. We draw a Chromatic Sphere. So, unfortunately, we did not draw a land. Go ahead and sack Star for green. Alright, we can Ancient Stirrings and try and hit a Tron land here, because that's going to make a big difference. Chalice we can't play on 0 because we have Trinisphere. So let's get a redundant Power Plant. Rest at the bottom. Play the Power Plant. Play Star for 3 mana. And then we can animate Star as a blocker. Because we were looking to uptick Karn there anyway. Okay, opponent is fetching their Wooded Foothills, which is also something we were hoping for. They might just attack and then wheel for 6 mana off of Glimpse of Tomorrow. They just might cascade into Glimpse of Tomorrow, which is what I was trying to say. Okay. Opponent passes to second main and then suspends Glimpse of Tomorrow. We draw Blast Zone, so we're gonna play Sundering Titan. And that's probably the game, because we're taking out 4 lands here. Okay, opponent flashes in an Endurance. Gets 2 Risen Reef triggers. They shuffle their graveyard back in. Okay, they hit an Otawara. And they draw a card. Okay, so we get rid of Island, Mountain, Forest, Plains. Then animate Chromatic Star, play Blast Zone, pass the turn. So they have to have an untapped land to even cast a spell. And next turn we're going to Ulamog to take out a bunch of stuff. They play a Colony Garden. They go to combat and pass. We untap. We draw Boseiju, who endures. Animate Star. Play Ulamog. Take out 2 lands. And that's the game. Alrighty, so we are 3-1. I'm going to make a couple of phone calls, and then I'll either return very quickly to say this is the end of the video and I'm done, or I will continue playing based on how those go. So, maybe see you guys in round 5? Alrighty, welcome back to round 5. I would like to play first. So situation sorted. We are going to try and actually finish this out. Opponent is playing a Gigantha deck. So they're either Tron, the bad version, or like Elementals or something. I'm going to keep this. It's pretty high risk to actually find the third Tron land, but we're just going to try it out. So if our opponent is on Tron, we basically need to assemble Tron and play Karn. That's how we're going to win. Okay, this is also probably Grix's Death Shadow playing Gigantha instead of Loris, because that was like free for them to attempt. Well, the good news is this hand is practically Thoughtseize proof. So opponent can take whatever they want, which is probably an Ugin, because I can only cast one Ancient Stirrings. Yeah. Okay, they take Ugin, they go down to 16, we untap, we draw Power Plant, so crack Star for green, or Sphere for green, we get a star, so Ancient Stirrings, we hit a tower, perfect. Opponent knows we have Power Plant, knows we have tower, so we play Power Plant, and we play Chromatic Star. So they knew one of the cards we drew. The only card they don't know about is the second Power Plant we have in our hand. If we draw a Worm Coil Engine, or we hit one off of Ancient Stirrings, that will be kind of tough for our opponent to deal with. Now, if they have double Thoughtseize to just take the remaining 2 bits here, that'd be pretty bad. Okay, we've got a Oblivion Stone, so play Tower. Sack Star for green. We get an Expedition Map. Ancient Stirrings. Yeah, I think this is Worm Coil Engine time. We could take Karn Great Creator. The problem is we don't have any good wish targets at the moment. Just gonna take Worm Coil. And play Worm Coil. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent shocks. Plays a Dragon's Rage Channeler. And drowns in the lock to kill Worm Coil Engine. The front half, anyway. Okay, we get some worm tokens. Opponent attacks for 4, so we will block with a Death Touch. We untap and draw a Blast Zone, so go to combat. Attack for 3. Opponent does not block, so play Oblivion Stone, play Blast Zone, pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays a Bauble. They surveil a Watery Grave into the graveyard. And they go to combat, attack us for 3, that's fine. Take 3, go to 20. They bobble our top deck. They're going to bolt the worm token. Okay. So we untap. They draw a card. We draw an Ugin the Ineffable. Play Power Plant. Play Ugin. Make a token. Play an expedition map. Karn under the token's pretty sweet. And pass the turn. I think if they attack Ugin, I'm just going to have Ugin take the damage. Because I don't really want to blow up this expedition map. And if they want to waste even more resources on dealing with the Ugin, that's fine. Okay. Let's go ahead and crack map. We'll go get Sanctum of Ugin. Untap. We draw another Oblivion Stone. Play Sanctum. Uptick Ugin. We get a Yavi Maya. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Okay. Take our opponent to 4. And pass the turn. They crack Scalding Tarn, go to 3. Okay, Steam Vent's tapped. They untap. Pretty sure we've got a Walking Ballista, right? And we might just be able to crack Oblivion Stone and then kill our opponent. But I mean, if they attack Ugin again, that's fine, because then they have no blockers. Well, they have to attack, because that attacks every turn if able, but... Okay, Ugin down. We untap. We draw a Sylvan Scrying. Go to combat. Attack, attack. Well, they gotta do something or they die. They Unholy Heat, the one holding Karn, so that's pretty sweet. So we pick up Karn. Opponent takes 2, goes to 1. Play Karn. They have a Drown in the lock. That's fine as well. Alright, pass the turn. Okay, opponent is going to dash Ragavan. They go to combat. They attack for 5. So we use our Blast Zone that we've been disciplinedly waiting for getting extra value out of. And our opponent plays a Death Shadow. Okay, we untap. We draw Forest. I'm missing like 1 mana to be able to activate Oblivion Stone to put a Fate counter on the Spirit token and then activate it again. That would be pretty sick, but unfortunately that's not what we're able to do here. So Sylvan Scrying, and let's get another Urza's Tower, and we'll pass. If my opponent is to try and win the game with like a Team or Battle Rage or something, we can just blow up the world in response. So they cast an Expressive Iteration. They put a card in their hand. And they exile a Dress Down. Okay, so Dress Down can turn to Death Shadow into a 13/13. No blocks. Take a bunch. Okay, on our opponent's end step, let's go ahead and put a Fate counter on the token. Untap. Draw a log. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Alright, got him. So, Death Shadow. What do Death Shadow decks look like these days? I haven't seen this deck in forever. Just haven't been playing as much Constructed. So they play like Spell Pierces and Alpines out of the side. So we are going to bring in the Force of Vigors. We're going to put a Wormcoil Engine and Oblivion Stone into the Wishboard, and we're going to drop one Ulamog, I think, and try it like this. We could bring in Chalice. Chalice on 1 is actually really good against this deck. In fact, nah, we'll keep both in the Wishboard right now. While it can be really good, odds are it's going to slow us down even more than them, and they do have answers to Chalice. Like, they do play K-Command and things like that. Yeah, we can do better than this. Let's mulligan. I mean, we have a force in this hand. Like a usable force. Do they play Saga? I know some builds used to. I was gonna say, if they play Saga, I would keep this hand. But it does not appear that any recent list plays Saga, so I'm actually gonna mulligan to 5. Okay. We're gonna keep. We're gonna put back Power Plant, Power Plant. We have 2/3 of Tron, a Karn Great Creator, and a active Force of Vigor. So if we top deck Map, Sphere, Star, or Tower, we'll have Tron. Okay. Opponent leads on a Ragavan and Bauble. And Bauble. We untap. Okay, opponent baubles our top deck. We draw a Forest. Well, play a Mine. Pass the turn. Opponent baubles our top deck again. Want to know what our next card is? They untap, excuse me for the yawn. They draw 2 cards. They go to combat. Attack us for 2. They exile a Karn Liberated off the top of our deck. They play a Polluted Delta. They fetch with Polluted Delta, shock a Watery Grave, go down to 14, and play a Ledger Shredder. Okay. We top deck Natural Tower. So that's pretty awesome. That does mean our opponent knows we have Tron, so they're going to try and Thoughtseize us this turn. So we really need to top deck another threat. Okay, opponent Expressive Iteration. Ideally, they go like land Alpine Moon, and then we just take out Alpine Moon Treasure, and then they don't have Thoughtseize. That would be the ideal. However, I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. We'll see. Okay, opponent exiles Watery Grave. Shocks Watery Grave, plays Death Shadow. They get to connive. Death Shadow enters as a 1/1. Opponent attacks us for 3. They exile a forest. Let's not even give them the capability here. Alright. We untap. We draw a Chromatic Sphere. So, play Tower. Play Karn. Wish with Karn. Now the question is, what do we get? We could get Engineered Explosives. We don't have quite enough mana to play it and crack it though. Ensnaring Bridge doesn't really do anything. Chalice technically does something. Trinisphere makes them use all of their mana for 1 spell. We could pick up Sundering Titan and just Armageddon them next turn, provided they don't have a Thoughtseize. Worm Coil Engine is probably a little bit underpowered. I think I'm going to go for the Sundering Titan play. So opponent gets 2 Connive. Because they can't drown in the lock, and that tends to be their only hard counterspell. Now, if they have an Alpine Moon and they can take us off of Tron, then we won't be able to play Sundering Titan. That's the downside of this hand. Let's go ahead and draw a card. Okay, we have a backup Oblivion Stone. If we get Thought Seized, then that's at least a backup game plan. It's not a great backup game plan, but it should work. Opponent plays Bloodstained Mire. They play Dress Down, and we're dead. I always forget that's an option. Okay. So I don't think anything we had actually beat that. Do I want to bring in a Chalice of the Void on the play? If I did, what would it be over? I think a Worm Coil Engine. Let's try it like this. Okay, I would like to play first. We can definitely do better than this, so I'm going to go to 6. That looks to be a lot better. I'm going to keep and put back a Power Plant. Pass the turn. This is not ideal, but it is reasonably powerful. If we top deck Map, Sphere, Star, Ancient Stirrings, Tutor, like all of that's good. There it is. Then we cycle for green, we get another star, play a Power Plant. Sylvan Scrying, get a tower. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent goes to combat, hits us for 2, makes a treasure. Exiles a Sylvan Scrying, which they might cast, because it does look like they're missing a land drop. Okay, or not. They play a Dragon's Rage Channeler, they play a Bauble, they get to Surveil. They leave it on top. They bauble us, they want to draw whatever's on top of their deck. And they're Thought Seizing. They take Karn here, 100%, because that's what we're playing next turn. Unless they think they can Spell Pierce whatever we wish for with Karn. They take Sundering Titan. But the thing is, Karn's going to shut off that artifact mana. So play Tower. Play Karn. I guess this could be the Ceremonious Rejection to counter Karn. It isn't. Could just wish for Sundering Titan again. Or we can get Trinisphere. They'd have to attack and kill Karn. We can get Ballista and theoretically protect Karn. I think we get Ballista. Then we can play out Chromatic Star and play out Ballista. Okay. Pass the turn. We're probably not going to be able to kill this Dragon's Rage Channeler. Odds are my opponent is going to be able to get Delirium at instant speed. And if they're going to make me able to do that, I will kill the Dragon's Rage Channeler right now. Because personally, I don't mind if they attack with the Ragavan, because that can't kill Karn. We're going to get a couple of redraws potentially at a game-winning / game-ending threat here. They would have to have land Unholy Heat or land Bolt to kill Karn, which is not impossible. Like, they've drawn a bunch of cards, they just haven't hit lands. Okay, they exile a Bloodstained Mire, so they play Bloodstained Mire, they fetch. They shock a Blood Crypt, they go to 10. And they play a Death Shadow. Okay, so they attack Karn down to 1, so we can't wish immediately. We untap and draw Chromatic Sphere. Cycle Star for green. We get a map. Play map. Crack map. Get Blast Zone. Uptick Karn to kill their treasure. Play Blast Zone. Activate it immediately. Then play Sphere. Pass the turn. Because now we're threatening to just wish for another Sundering Titan and Armageddon them. Sundering Titan, they can't Spell Pierce. They would be able to dress down in response, I think. Okay, they have a Kolaghan's Command. That's kind of unfortunate. We untap. We draw a Power Plant. So, play Expedition Map. Crack Map. Get a redundant tower. Play Tower. Pass the turn. Now we have to draw a threat. Opponent fetches with Polluted Delta, goes down to 9. They play a Scalding Tarn. They put Gigantha in their hand. We untap. We draw an Ancient Stirring, so play Yavimaya. Ancient Stirrings. We get a Chromatic Sphere. Rest of the bottom. Play Chromatic Sphere. Cycle for green. Nothing. Okay. Pass the turn. I mean, if opponent spends their whole turn just making a 5/5 next turn with no backup, and we draw anything, they're just gonna die. Okay, opponent flashes in, dress down to draw a card. They play a Polluted Delta. They play Gigantha. Sacrifice dress down. We untap. We draw an Ugin. Play Ugin. Shoot him to 3. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Polluted Delta on their upkeep, so they're kind of desperate to thin their deck and draw something. They play a Bloodstained Mire, and they scoop. Good job, Ugin. We are now 4-1, and I will see you guys in round 6 when it starts. Alrighty, welcome to round 6, and I would like to play first. We got 2/3 of Tron and a lot of Spheres and Stars. We're either against Elementals or Controls. Probably Control. So I think we're going to keep. Opponent is mulligan to 5. So that probably bodes well for us. So we're going to start with Power Plant into Sphere. Pass the turn. Super niche micro optimization, but I mean, like, if this is Control and they start with Prismatic Ending, I actually may want Chromatic Star later to animate with Karn. Yeah. So, does it matter? Probably not. Could it matter? In some super niche circumstance, maybe. So play Chromatic Sphere. Crack Sphere for green, draw a card. Play Chromatic Star. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays an island. We untap. We draw a Sundering Titan. Attack Star for green and draw. Forest. Play a Forest. And... I think I'm just going to leave up Besiege You. If I play Oblivion Stone out, there's a really decent chance my opponent just goes like 3 mana to Fairy and bounce. Dress down. Okay. Opponent gets to draw. I apologize for the yawns. I've had a lot of caffeine today. I don't know why I'm so tired. Maybe that is why I'm so tired. Narset, Parter of Veils. So this is maybe the Wheel of Fortune, like, control deck. The one that casts Days Undoing. I did run into this once before. Okay. See if they reveal Days Undoing. Supreme Verdict. Okay. His opponent has a Supreme Verdict. I am going to besiege you their Hallowed Fountain here. This might seem really aggressive, but I'm giving myself a higher potential upside play. If I top deck mine and they get Raugrin Triome, I can now Armageddon them. Okay, Urza's Mine, please, off the top one time. Unfortunately not. We get a Chromatic Star, so play the Chromatic Star, play the Blast Zone, and play Oblivion Stone. Pass the turn. For those of you wondering why I didn't crack Chromatic Star, it would not draw me a card because of Narset Parter Avail's static ability. Okay, opponent down ticks and finds a Chalice of the Void. Plays a second Narset Parter Avails. Finds a Force of Negation. Plays a Flooded Strand, and we untap. We draw a Yavimaya, so play Yavimaya, and pass the turn. We really are just looking for that last Tron land here. Okay. Opponent down ticks Narset. Finds another Narset. Plays their third Narset. Legend rules themselves. Down ticks. Gets a second Force of Negation. Okay, on their end step, we're going to go ahead and sack Oblivion Stone. This is going to draw us a card off our own Chromatic Star. Glad that I sequenced this way, because the draw off the destroy mattered. Okay. We draw a Sanctum. We untap. We draw another Tower, which is unfortunately not what we were looking for. So we play the Tower, play another Oblivion Stone. This might get forced. Probably will get forced. Okay, opponent casts a Dress Down in response. They're going to draw a card. Think about what they drew. And then forces pitching Supreme Verdict. Alright, well, we are only 2 mana away from casting a Sundering Titan. Opponent cracks Flooded Strand on their upkeep. Plays a Flooded Strand. Chalice on 1. And passes. We untap. We draw a Chromatic Sphere. Play Sanctum. And pass the turn. We are 1 mana away from casting the Sundering Titan. Really hoping we top deck a Urza's Mine. Okay. Opponent draws a card. They play a Mystic Gate. They put Kahira into their hand. It looks like they're leaving up Force of Negation or maybe Counterspell mana. Okay, we draw Ancient Stirrings. That doesn't do anything. So unfortunately we have to pass. Okay, opponent plays Kahira. I don't want to tick Blast Zone up to 3 just yet. Okay, we draw Wormcoil Engine. Play Wormcoil Engine. Okay, opponent has a Subtlety. I'm going to put Wormcoil on the bottom. I don't really want to redraw Wormcoil here. I want to draw a land and play Sundering Titan. Okay, opponent attacks us for 7. We take 7 and go to 13. We untap. We draw Expedition Map, which also is not doing anything. Pass the turn. Okay, they attack us for 7. No blocks, we go to 6. I am going to tick up Blast Zone to 3. We untap. We draw an Expedition Map. Pass the turn. Okay, well now Sundering Titan doesn't really do it. Take 3, go to 3. Opponent plays a Fairy Time Raveler. Bounces Subtlety. Okay. Them's the breaks. We had a pretty reasonable chance at winning that game, but we had, what was that, 5 dead draws? Okay, so versus control, I would like Kozilek. I don't think they play Spreading Seas anymore. They do play a Stoneforge package out of the sideboard, apparently. But their goal is this Days Undoing combo, just backed up with a whole bunch of counter spells and removal. I can bring in Force of Vigor, but the thing is, Force of Vigor is like only good against Chalice in their deck. Literally nothing else. So I think I'm actually going to leave it in the sideboard. But if I'm bringing in Kozilek, I need to cut one thing, and I think I'm going to put a Worm Coil into the Wishboard. I'll try it like this. I mean, our best chance is just like natural Tron into threat, like Karn, to disrupt their mana base. Alright, I would like to play first. We do have to be aware of Prismatic Ending, Force, and March of Otherworldly Light while keeping our opening hand. Because if my opponent has to mulligan again pretty deep, they are going to try and keep a hand that will disrupt such. I think on a 7 this is fine to keep. Okay, opponent also keeps 7. Let's start Mind Map. Pass the turn. Okay, they play Rogren Triome. We draw Ancient Stirrings, play Power Plant. Map for Tower. Pass the turn. Opponent plays an island. Looks like they're leaving up Dovin's Veto. So, play the Tower. Play Chromatic Star. Sack Star for green. Worm Coil. Play Worm Coil. Okay, opponent dress downs. Worm Coil enters the battlefield. Okay, opponent plays a Plains and passes. We untap, we draw Kozilek. Go to combat. Attack for 6. Okay, opponent goes down to 14. Play Avimaya. Ancient Stirrings. Yeah, I'll take Sundering Titan. Rest to the bottom. Play Oblivion Stone. And pass the turn. Okay, opponent cycles Shark Typhoon to make a 1/1 Shark. They play an island. They play a Jace. They brainstorm. So they would have to have subtlety or solitude to deal with Titan. And odds are they brainstormed into subtlety. So we're actually going to cast Ulamog next turn and take out Jace and a land. But we're going to start by attacking Jace with Worm Coil Engine. They could let Jace die here. I don't think they will, but they could. Okay, opponent evokes Solitude by pitching Teferi Time Raveler. Okay. Worm Coil gets exiled. Solitude down. So we play a Power Plant. Play Ulamog. Take out Jace and an island. So they can subtlety this if they want, but we're getting value out of it regardless. That also means that that Solitude was not very good. Okay, opponent has another Jace. They're going to brainstorm, basically looking for another Solitude, and they scoop. Alright, moving on to Game 3. We will be on the draw for Game 3, so we are less favored. Yeah, that play advantage is huge in the Tron versus Control matchup. Kind of wish I had some Veil of Summers in this deck, but it wouldn't really help against Subtlety, which is a major problem, and it doesn't help at all against Solitude. And we're not playing any Torpor Orbs. Alright. Here we are in Game 3. This is almost natural Tron. I mean, there's 2 redraws. We might only get to cast 1 if our opponent kept a Chalice hand. And they kept 7. I think I am going to mulligan. Natural Tron into Karn is about as good as it gets. I'm going to put back Sylvan Scrying. So let's hope we can just rip thread after thread off the top and our opponent can't interact with our mana base. Okay, opponent leads on Flooded Strand. We draw Yavimaya. Players is mine. Pass the turn. Opponent sacks Flooded Strand on our end step. Getting a Hollowed Fountain tapped. Opponent is thinking. They're really in the tank on their turn 2 play here. I think they're wondering whether to leave up a counter spell or to play out a Chalice. Okay. Now we draw Chromatic Star, so play Power Plant. Play Star. We might be able to bait a counterspell out here with this Ancient Stirrings. Maybe clear the way for Karn. That would be pretty cool. Let's go ahead and sack Star for green. We draw Worm Coil. Ancient Stirrings. Okay. Opponent cracks Prismatic Vista. Gets an island. Cycles a Shark Typhoon. No shark. Okay. If I pick up Karn Liberated, they're gonna know I've got it, but... Alright, we pick up Karn Liberated. Opponent plays a Misty Rainforest. Cracks Misty. Shocks Breeding Pool. It's an Narset. It's an Narset. Okay, the real problem is if they have Solitude to back... Or not Solitude, if they have the blue one. Subtlety. If they have subtlety to back this up, we are pretty much done. Play Karn. Subtlety or force, really. If they have either of those into a Days Undoing, it's just game over. Okay, so Karn liberated. I guess I'm going to put on the bottom. Okay. If they have Days Undoing, we're going to untap with Tron and one card in hand, so that would be the concern. Okay. Opponent plays a tap land into a Days Undoing, we untap and draw a Sanctum of Ugin. So play Sanctum, play Oblivion Stone, and now we just gotta rip threats. Like, opponent has a full grip, which is kind of a problem, but there's not much we can do about it. That was the Nightmare scenario. At least we were able to assemble Tron, but I mean, short of like repeated Ulamogs, we're you know, we're not in a great place. Okay, opponent downticks Narset. They reveal a Prismatic Ending. They play a Plains. They go for the Prismatic Ending. Yeah, so like, if we draw Sundering Titan and their only counter is Force of Negation and Dovin's Veto, then, you know, great. But if they've got anything else, we're just done. We untap and draw Ulamog. Alright, now we just need any Tron land. Come on, Tron land. I mean, ideally another tower, but any Tron land will do. Okay, opponent plays Jace. Brainstorms with Jace. Plays a Flooded Strand. We untap. We draw a Worm Coil. This doesn't really do a lot with a Jace, because, like, if they don't have an answer, they can just unsummon. And we're not doing anything, but it's something to cast, I guess. If I were to cast an Ulamog into this board, I would be taking out Jace and the Chalice, because that would unlock, like, Expedition maps, or Chromatic Spheres and Stars, that sort of thing. Okay. Opponent brainstorms again. Okay, they play a Mystic Gate. They play a Teferi Time Raveler. They unsummon one Wormy Boy. We untap. We draw Oblivion Stone. Play Oblivion Stone. That, like, necessitates a counter from the opponent. Because otherwise we just blow up all their lock pieces at once. Yeah, they have a Dovin's Veto. Okay. Pass the turn. I mean, at least we're not just ripping dead action. You know, like, everything we're drawing actually matters. Okay. Opponent, like, 4th Brainstorm in a row. They play a Flooded Strand. We untap. Play Oblivion Stone. Okay, opponent has force negation. We pass the turn. Opponent casts a memory deluge. Untaps. They uptick to fairy. They start fate sealing. They play a prismatic vista. Whatever it was, they left it on top. Okay, chromatic sphere. Doesn't do anything. Play worm coil. Okay, opponent casts a subtlety. So we will put worm coil on the bottom. Pass the turn. Opponent fetches. Fetches. It's a solitude. Yep. So they're going to try and beat us down. They untap. They attack us for 6. Take 6 and go to 14. Opponent plays a Narset. Okay, problem now is if they can uptick to fairy and Days Undoing on our draw step, then, you know, it's game over, 100%. We might be able to delay with this Ulamog, but unfortunately I think we got controlled. We draw a Yavi Maya, which unfortunately doesn't do anything. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent draws like 7 cards or something. With a flashed in Seagate Restoration. They brainstorm again. They play a Misty. They crack it. They downtick Narset. They find another Force of Negation. They attack us for 6. We go to 8. They unsummon Subtlety. We untap. You draw a useless 1-drop. And unfortunately we are dead because they can flash in Subtlety on our end step, put Kahira in their hand, play Kahira, and make up the last 2 points of damage. So there's nothing we can do. That's really disappointing. I really do not like the fact that there is now a Narset draw 7 combo that people are playing in an actual meta deck. It's one of those things that, and I'm not just complaining because I've lost to it like twice in a row now. It's one of those things that if you can play a Narset hardlock deck and it involves playing like Teferi's Puzzle Box and you lock the game out on turn 7, like, okay, fine. You know, it's a jank deck, whatever. But when the premier control strategy looks like a prison deck with 4 Chalice of the Voids and then Teferi and Narset and Days Undoing and like 12 free spells, it's really interesting because it becomes this thing where if you have to play hard prison to play control in Modern effectively, I feel like something has gone terribly wrong. But that's my opinion. So, and nobody cares for my opinion. All right, well, I'll see you guys in round 7. Alrighty, welcome to round 7. We are on the draw, and we are mulliganing. I believe it's sudden death now for us to get into top 8. If we win both of these next matches, we have a chance. And other than that, we don't. So this is also going to be a mulligan. I am going to 5 here. This is about as good as our previous hand. Our opponent kept a 5. I think I'm actually going to go to 4. I'm going to go to 3. All right. Put back a bunch of stuff. If we're going all in on Tron, we're going for broke. We just got to draw power plant. Show me power plant. Ulamog. Well, it's kind of like power plant, right? In that it's not at all. Players is mine. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent fetches up a Ketria Triome. Bloodstained Mire. Name something used to produce electricity. Survey says power plant? Nope. Ulamog again. Play tower. Pass the turn. Power plant, one time. Nope, almost. Pass the turn. Opponent's stuck on 2 lands, we're stuck on 2 lands. Opponent plays a Wooded Foothills, gets a Steam Vents. They're very clearly, I think, an Indomitable Creativity deck. Okay, they play Fable of the Mirror Breaker. We draw Expedition Map. Play Expedition Map, pass the turn. Okay, opponent draws. They get to double Rummage. They ditch Bolt and Fable of the Mirror Breaker to draw 2 cards. They go to combat. Attack us for 2. Get a treasure token. We go down to 18. They play a Dwarven Mine. Get a Dwarf token. Looks like they're going for the... Oh, okay. They're going for the Artifact Destruction. Okay, they get a Wrenn and 6. Pick up a fetch land. Okay, Power Plant. Sphere. Play Sphere. Okay. Sure. I clicked no. Okay. Pass the turn. I mean, Karn wouldn't have resolved either, right? But opponent untaps. They get a Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. And a Jace. I believe if I top deck exactly Power Plant Tower, I actually still can come back from this. But... like, it's gotta be that. Power Plant into Tower. So... okay, opponent hits us for 3. Take 3, untap. Okay, let's go ahead and scoop. That is super unfortunate. Now that we know what we're up against, though... did I actually bring anything in against them? I don't think I needed... I don't think I needed Force of Vigor against them. They're going to bring in Besiege You. Yeah, we don't actually have a sideboard against them. Alright, I would like to play first. That's a mulligan. Alright, I mean, if it's gonna work, it's gonna work. So we'll keep. I'm going to put back a Worm Coil Engine. Opponent also mulligan 6. We're gonna go Urza's Mine, Chromatic Sphere. They force pitching Explore. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm fine with naturally drawn Tron. Now, if we could just top deck a Karn, that'd be dandy. Okay, opponent plays a Wrenn and 6, picks up a land, play the tower, play Worm Coil Engine, pass the turn. Opponent plays an Arid Mesa, fetches up a basic mountain, plays a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and picks up a land. We untap, we draw another Urza's Mine, so play the Urza's Mine, go to combat, and attack Wrenn and 6. Okay, they let Wrenn and 6 die. Play Oblivion Stone, pass the turn. I could crack Oblivion Stone now, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to let them loot. They ditch Archon and Wooded Foothills. They go to combat, they attack us for 2. They get a treasure. We go down to 24. They play a Dwarven Mine. Put a Fate counter on the Worm Coil Engine. I mean, if they have a Prismari command, this is going to not turn out very well for me, but we untap. We draw a Chromatic Sphere. So, go to combat. Attack our opponent for 6. Opponent does chump. Play Chromatic Sphere. Sack Sphere for green. We draw an Expedition Map, Ancient Stirrings. Yeah, we'll go with Ugin. Rest of the bottom. Play Power Plant. Play Ugin. Okay, opponent has a Spell Pierce. I Play Expedition map. So I guess I should have gone with Karn there. Okay, opponent cycles a Zayatora's Proving Ground. Opponent untaps, Saga flips. They cast a Hard Evidence, make a Crab token. Attack us for 2, they make a treasure. We go down to 28. Play an Arid Mesa. They crack Arid Mesa. They shock a Steam Vents and go to 12. They're going to Prismari Command, loot, and destroy Oblivion Stone. Okay, we untap, we draw. Forest. So, crack Expedition map. And let's get a Bosiju. Play a Forest. Bosiju, Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. Okay, we get a Dwarven Mine. Attack for 6. Opponent chumps with a Crab token, we go up to 34. And they draw a card. They go to combat, they attack us with a Goblin Shaman and a Dwarf. Or not. Make a treasure token. Okay. We take 2 damage, go to 32. They are sacking their treasures. And hard casting Archon, making us sack Wormcoil Engine. And they play a Dwarven Mine. They get another Dwarf. We untap. We draw Ancient Stirrings. Cast Ancient Stirrings. Take Ulamog. Rest of the bottom. Cast a big ol' Ulamog. Take out Archon and Ketria Triome. Go to combat. Attack for 6. Spell Pierce that. Okay, opponent takes 6 damage. I guess if they can... I guess they don't have triple Archon left in the deck. I was going to say if they can Indomitable Creativity, triple Archon, and make me sack my whole board, that would work. Block, I guess. This opponent needed to filter their mana. They play Renin 6. They pick up an Arid Mesa. They play Arid Mesa. They crack it. They get a Blood Crypt untapped and go to 6. They persist Archon. We'll sack the lifelinking one. Then they play Jace. They unsummon our other token. Okay. We untap. We draw Oblivion Stone. We cast Oblivion Stone. Blow up the world. Ulamog survives this. Alright. Moving on to game 3. Blow up the world. Ulamog survives this. Parentheses. Yeah, sometimes you gotta make yourself laugh. Okay, this is a mulligan. We got 2 of the same Tron land. Obviously this hand would be like a snap keep if this was like a power plant or a tower, because then we could just Chromatic Sphere into Sylvan Scrying. In fact, some people might be tempted into keeping this, but I think we can do better. This is better. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to put back a redundant tower. Opponent also mulligan 6. Let's see if they are willing to aggressively force this Expedition map. I mean, if they do, they're down to 3 cards in hand, so... If they have a Spell Pierce, that would suck. Okay, they don't. They untap, they draw a card. They shock a Steam Vents, and Hard Evidence. Okay. We untap, we draw Chromatic Star, Players is Tower, Players is Mine. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Ketria Triome, so we're going to have to dodge a Spell Pierce here. Unfortunately, our opponent has a Bosiju who endures. So let's get a Forest. Go to our main phase. Planners is mine. Now I can either Sphere Star Chain or I can play Oblivion Stone. I think I'm better off doing the Spheres and Stars here. Okay. I now kind of regret putting back that second tower. Opponent Prismari commands themselves, making a treasure, going looting. They ditch Archon and Jace. Don't play a land. We draw Blast Zone. Well, I guess we play Blast Zone and Oblivion Stone. Pass the turn. My goodness. Okay, Prismari command destroying the Oblivion Stone, making another treasure. Persisting Archon, which is going to force us to ditch a Yavimaya. It's basically right now draw tower or bust. Because if we draw tower, we can play around a Spell Pierce, but we need it now. Okay, we no longer can play around Spell Pierce if we get tower off Ancient Stirrings, but there's a tower. Rest of the bottom, play the tower. Go get him, Karn. Karn, take out Archon. Well, that worked. Pass the turn. Like, these are the facts that have to be in order for us to start winning the game. As unlikely as it may be, or likely as it may be, I didn't actually do the math. I was just like, this is the only way it's going to work. So... Okay, opponent fetches up a Dwarven Mine. They draw. They play Besiege You. I don't think they meant to do that, unless they have like double creativity here. Which if they do, we're screwed. Yeah, we can't actually beat this. We've already dumped, I think, both Ulamogs to the bottom, so we're gonna lose Karn. Ugin cannot downtick -8, and is just gonna get sacked immediately, so we need to lose Ugin, and then we need to lose Urza's Mine. Yeah, I would need to rip land into Ulamog. That is not useful either. It would be if we had delayed drawing it by a turn, but actually we're just dead. Because Archon's going to do 9 damage to us when it attacks, and Karn... Or we're at exactly 10 life, so that's really unfortunate. If our opponent didn't have that first Besiege You, we would have gotten him, and if they hadn't been able to double creativity, we would have gotten him. So, them's the breaks. Alright, but, you know, not bad for a modern challenge, I'd say. It's better than my previous showings with Tron. I'm not going to play any more matches. I'm pretty tired for the day. So I hope you all enjoyed this content. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. And remember, you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. Lately, I've been streaming Wednesdays and on Sundays, so be sure to catch me then. You're all wonderful human beings. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!